let's go through all the books that I've read in July. Hello, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing amazing. So for today's video, we are going to be going through all the books that I have read in July, what I rated them, what I thought of them, and essentially would I recommend them to you. I have currently only read 3 books from my monthly TBR. I'm currently reading the 4th and I'm hoping to read that within the next day or so, and then I can add it to the end of this video. Before we get started, if you do find you're enjoying this video and you would like to stick around, it would mean so much to me if you could like and subscribe. I would love to talk to you all things books, but let's crack on with the first book that I've read in July, and that was Just Friends by Pham, and I gave this one 3.5 stars. This is a friends to lover and second chance romance, which on paper I absolutely love. Both tropes that I just cannot get enough of. So we've got Blair and Declan, and they were growing up in this little town called Seabrook, and they were best friends, then turned lovers. Now, going back to present day, Blair is going through kind of a family emergency, kind of a family situation, which makes her go back to Seabrook. So she applies for a job at the local coffee shop. Who runs the coffee shop? Not only her childhood lover, Declan. First off, this is actually a debut novel, and because of, I believe, who the author is, and if you don't know, that's Pham, who is like a massive influencer who got a publishing deal, and it had a magnitude of bad reviews, like really terrible reviews. So I did want to make my kind of own opinion. I've watched Hayley for quite some time. I wanted to support her, so I bought her book. And while this wasn't amazing and like 5-star read and, you know, an all-time favourite, I don't think it was as bad as what some reviews have made out. And to me, I'm kind of inferring that maybe they're going for the author as opposed to the book inside. That being said, there is a lot of flaws to this book, but as a debut novel, I feel like you have got to give it a little bit of grace. I mean, I don't know, I guess it depends. There is some debut novels that are absolutely fantastic, but I actually can see potential in Pham's writing. So right off the bat, she has a very flowery, descriptive, kind of beautifully written writing style. Were there some things that didn't make sense? Maybe. Sometimes I felt like the sentences were a little bit too long, like she wanted to put in, you know, very complicated words to make the sentence sound better maybe, but it was very beautifully written. I like my books very flowery, I like them very descriptive. I do think maybe give Hayley more time, more books, she will flourish into a writer that she wants to become. I would say maybe like one more edit could have tightened it up a bit, but I still had a good time. This is obviously classed as a romance, but sometimes it felt like actually this was a literary fiction first with a slice of contemporary romance, because we were exploring, and this may be a mild spoiler, so maybe like skip 10-20 seconds if you don't want to know, but we are dealing with topics of grief, and I do think this was depicted quite well in this book. But yeah, to say it's like a straight up romance, I feel like there's more going on behind the scenes than just, you know, this is a second chance fluffy romance. The actual romance itself was very bog standard. There was nothing special about it. If anything, I found it, to me, I don't think this is classed as a YA, but I think it should be targeted towards a YA audience, because I think if it was targeted towards a YA audience, I don't think I would have as much bad points to say, but this did feel very childish. The actual romance, I wasn't sold, like it felt very juvenile. I think as well, what really annoyed me with this book was how they broke up in the first place, like when they were younger, and I just found it a very cop-out reason. I didn't like the resolution at all. It just felt kind of like Hollywood movie vibe than something that would actually happen in real life. And the situation as a whole, the person that was involved with their kind of initial breakup, they forgive them way too easily, and I just think if that was like in the real world, I'm sorry, you wouldn't brush it off like they just did. So I did feel like that was just really flat, really silly. I did roll my eyes. But everything else, I mean, this does sound like a really negative review. I did enjoy it. Like, I didn't have to think too much about it. I think because of the author, people were kind of going through it with a fine-tooth comb. And actually, if you just take a step back, you just pick up the book and you just read it, I think it will be like a great summer read. Also, I just found Declan and Blair just a bit bland. There wasn't much emotion coming out of me by reading about Blair and Declan. So I guess that's another point. But again, I think maybe Hayley's writing in time will develop that and you will actually form more of a connection with the characters in there. I feel like overall, like, I would actually recommend, if you want something with a bit more depth, I would say, yeah, definitely pick it up. If you want a cute, fluffy romance, I mean, this isn't it, but, you know, it was a solid middle of the road read. Wouldn't not recommend, but wouldn't say, you know, you need to get this immediately. You need to go out tomorrow and buy this and put this on your shelf. There's also no spice in this book, which actually I preferred. I think if there was spice in this book, which I think if you watched Hayley's content, you know that there wouldn't be any spice. But I think if there was spice involved, I think, again, it would have cheapened the whole message of what Hayley was trying to achieve in regards to, like, grief and things like that. Following on from that, I actually read an e-arc, and that was She Had Enough by Stacie Gray. And in the end, I actually rated this 3 stars. I feel like my NetGalley, I haven't been requesting the best books. I mean, the descriptions always hook me in. And then when I read it, it just doesn't hit for me. I feel like I need to take a pause from NetGalley requests because I'm doing something wrong. I mean, I guess 3 stars is not bad, but still, I want something more. So the synopsis, very briefly, we are actually in a multi-POV for this one, and this includes 6 friends, and one day all these 6 friends, they go out for a dinner and whatnot, and it goes really well. They've not caught up in some time. The night goes great, and then obviously it finishes up. They go their separate ways, and an earthquake happens. Quite a big earthquake, you know, natural disaster, leaves the town in disrepair. But following on from that earthquake, one of the 6 friends actually goes missing. So we are predominantly in the eyes of Mallory, and when Mallory finds out that Caitlin is missing, she wants to obviously find out what's happened to her friend. But as she starts digging and she starts asking the other 4 friends that were there that night, she gets the feeling that they don't actually want to speak to her, which makes her dig even harder and potentially uncovers some serious secrets within the group. And that's all I'm going to say. So straight away for this one, I was instantly hooked. We got to the natural disaster side of things pretty early on, and that kind of sold it for me. I love anything to do with like a natural disaster if it's done right. Instantly hooked, drama was happening, great. But I do feel like it felt a little bit flat. And the reason for that is it just felt a little bit repetitive. And I think that's due to the pacing. So we were going over quite a lot of the same plot points without any real resolution or addition to that resolution or anything like that. So it just felt really flat for me, repetitive. The pacing, the beginning and the end ramped up like to 100, but the middle portion just really slow. And actually, I found myself a little bit bored in some places. And considering this is a story where everyone is a suspect and, you know, you're just kind of second guessing every little interaction and whatnot, I was just a little bit bored. I'm sorry. On the other hand, Stacie Gray, she knows how to end a chapter, and she ends that chapter on like little mini cliffhangers, which I guess you kind of suspect from like mystery and thrillers, but she actually done it really well to the point where I did want to carry on reading. And then, you know, during that middle portion, that's what I mean, like nothing much was happening, so I wanted to read the beginning of the chapter and the end of the chapter, but anything in between that chapter I just felt was a bit like, you know, come on, I need something to happen here. I need some action, or I don't know, just something. But she does know how to draw her readers in to carry on the book. I also really enjoyed our main character Mallory. I think she did have like a great determination. She had grit to, you know, get to the bottom of this incident or this mystery, and yeah, I feel like she was a good character. Again, nothing really spectacular. I think the theme of this book is I just won't remember it. For that, I just don't know if I can recommend, because I want my books to make an impact on me, and if I'm not obviously remembering months to come, should I really be recommending that to you? I don't know, but it wasn't like inherently bad. I feel like there might be a pattern with this month in just that it was a middle of the road read. I do think that's my problem with thrillers. I can't actually get into thrillers and mysteries much lately because I just find them all really lackluster. Like, I don't know if it's the books that I'm reading or it's just thriller as a genre at the moment, but everything just, it's not hitting for me. I'm getting the twists, or the ending just doesn't makes sense or it's just really underwhelming. So yeah, I'm still on that hunt for a spectacular mystery and thriller. So if you have any recommendations, I would highly appreciate them. So yeah, if you could drop them in the comments, because I really just want to be wowed by a mystery thriller, and I just can't see that happening anytime soon. But no, I still appreciate being accepted for this arc, and yeah, it was just an okay read. So thank you, NetGalley. Sorry, I feel like I'm not being as in-depth with these reviews this month, just because once again it's really hot in this room. We're still in this British heat wave, and I can't deal with it. I've had to turn my fan off because it makes too much noise, and I'm trying to churn through these. So I'm sorry if this is not as in-depth as usual, although I said that in last month and I said I really want to make this quick, and it still turned out to be 30 minutes long. So I don't know how long this is going to be, but I'm just going to try and speed the process up a little bit. So the next book I read was Glow of the Everflame by Penn, and I gave this one 4.5 stars. So this actually beat Spark of the Everflames by 0.25 stars. And also thank you so much to Rossa for buddy reading this with me. I can't say too much because obviously this is second in a series, and we are actually delving straight off where we left off in book 1. So I can't really do a synopsis, but all I can say, I mean, this will be a really quick wrap up, is if you've not read this series, please do. Just be aware there is nothing overly unique about this book series. You know, I feel like anything in this book series you may have seen before in other fantasy books, but it is so bloody addicting. It's so addicting. Like, Penn knows how to write a book, knows how to keep you reading on. Like these as well, like obviously it's a chunky book. The chapters are quite chunky as well, like they're not short chapters. I didn't want to put the book down. I did not want to put the book down. We get more of Luther in this one, who is our male main character. I think a lot of people are going to like Luther. I do like Luther. I actually preferred Luther in book 1 because in book 2, he's a dulled down version of a wet lettuce. You know, he's not like a really down bad wet lettuce, but he's getting symptoms of being a wet lettuce, and I'm not sure I like it. DM as well, she's a bit annoying. I mean, I know, I feel like I'm not selling this to you, but it is a 4.5 stars, so like, please, it's such a good series, but DM, she's quite annoying. Like, I can't say it because it's a spoiler, but the situation she's in is like brand new to her. Like it's never happened. Like obviously it wouldn't happen to a lot of us, but it's like she's never had this situation happen to her, but she knows how to play her cards, right? And I don't know, like she's very confident, which I guess is good, but I just feel like in the situation you're in, I don't know if you would be that confident. I don't know if you'd be that confident speaking to these powerhouses the way that you are. I don't know, the things she said just annoyed me just a tiny bit. I still like her as a main character. I do still like Luther as a main character. I hope Luther builds up a bit of a backbone. Like he does have a backbone, but I don't know, I just want him to be a bit more stern. I don't know how to explain it, but just less let's see. I know that's not a word, but I just don't know how to describe it. But the actual plot, I couldn't see where it was going. The ending again, I didn't know that was going to be the ending, but you kind of knew something was at play, you know? So it didn't come to a shock, but at the same time, it was a shock because we didn't know how it was going to come to play. So yeah, I feel like I can't really give you much of a review on this one other than just please read this series if you haven't already. Like, it is chunky, but you won't feel like you're reading this much of a long book. And actually, so obviously me and Dorota, we're reading one a month until the new one comes out, and I recently purchased Heat of the Everflame, so that's on my August TBR. Actually, let me just show it to you. It's chunkier than this. So here is Heat of the Everflame, and that's how thick it is. It is absolutely insane. It is so big, but I'm hoping, just like the other ones, I'm not going to realise how much I'm reading and I will just power through this. Let me pick Glow back up. But where it left off, honestly, I can't wait to see where the series takes us. But yeah, that is my third book of July, and one that I definitely obviously recommend as a series so far. But also, on a side note, This edition is completely wrecked. I mean, you might look at it and think, no, that's fine. But I hate books where they've got, like, this has a film over it, and the film is starting to peel. Like, especially on the back, it's like the back corner. The film is starting to peel, and it's driving me insane, and I just feel like I don't want this on my bookshelf because it's just ruined. So I was thinking, I mean, this might be cheeky, but I think I might get special editions of this series. That's how much I love it. That's how much I love it. So I'm kind of, you know, selling it to myself at the moment that I need special editions of this series. Thank you very much. So the next book I read was Darling Daffodil Farms by Brittanée Nicole, and I gave this one 3 stars. It's definitely middle of the road in July, isn't it? This wasn't bad, but it's not my cup of tea. I'm not the intended audience for this. So I think if you love spicy, fluffy romances, you're absolutely gonna eat this up and take everything I say with a pinch of salt. So for this one, we've got Tally Darling, and she returns to her childhood home of the daffodil farm. Like, throughout her life, her father has been like a daffodil farmer. Is that a thing, a daffodil farmer? And every season, you know, sells these daffodils, has events, blah, 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 blah. But Tally is actually an aspiring chef. So as she's growing up and, you know, throughout her kind of 20s or whatnot, I don't actually know the time frame, but, you know, she has kind of flown the nest and she has gone all over the world or all over the country. I'm actually forgetting, I'm so sorry, but you can get the gist of what I'm trying to say. And she has kind of working at these restaurants to gain her cooking skills. So for this season, she decides to go back to her hometown and goes into a house, and she sees, I believe he's naked. I want to say he's naked, Jesse Walker. And she's like, who the hell is this man? Why is he in my bedroom? And just who is he? Anyway, turns out Jesse is actually working on the farm. As you might expect, he is grumpy. She is sunshine. You know, it's just your usual tropes in like cowboy romances and things like that. It's just a cliche, you know, like this book is a cliche. And obviously they start off not liking each other because she's like, who the hell is this man? And he's like, well, who the hell is she? She's not working on the farm. And then it turns into a budding romance. And yeah, it's just your standard fluffy romance genre. Only difference with this being is this is so spicy. Like this is super, super spicy. Now, if you know something a little bit about me, I'm not a lover of spice. I don't mind it if it's got a bit of a purpose, but I don't want spice over plot. And unfortunately, I think once they had their first bit of spice, there was no stopping them. Every single chapter after, there was spice in there. Like, I'm generally not exaggerating. I think the first spicy scene came about halfway in the book. If you're fine with not having a slow burn, then again, you'll love this. But I guess if you like spice, then you're not adverse to it being insta love anyway. I don't know. But it's just, yeah, once it started, it did not stop. And I'm like, just give them a room to breathe. Like, they just did not stop. And I just wanted a bit more plot in that sense. I just felt like it was there, you know, with not much substance. And that is the sort of spice I don't really get on board with. But I know so many people love that, you know, like it's kind of like that in dark romance as well. And like so many people love dark romance because it's super spicy. So I know that's a me problem. And you might absolutely love spice. So that was the second half. But actually, just to backtrack, I really did like our first half of the book. We have got, you know, your typical small town romance. I love a small town because you start to understand the people that are in this little town and like how they may play a part in future books, which, by the way, the hints for the next book was quite overbearing at sometimes. Like, I knew, like, it's so obvious who the next book is about, but they didn't need to put that in there like 10 times. That might be an exaggeration, but, you know, they were really honing in like who's next in this series, which I guess free marketing in a book if you enjoy it. But I really enjoyed learning the small town, who people are, etc. I really liked the fact, obviously this is kind of like a cowboy romance, but it's not a cowboy because it's a daffodil farm, but you know, you get the gist. But I actually enjoyed the fact that it wasn't a cowboy romance. It was to do with flowers. I mean, it sounds so silly, but it was a little bit of a breath of fresh air, and it wasn't just your usual copy and paste of, you know, we're on a ranch and he looks after horses and yada, yada, yada. So it felt a little bit refreshing in that sense. Our FMC, I found her a bit self-indulgent. I didn't really connect with her. I found her a little bit annoying, actually, if I'm being completely honest. And our male main character is a copy and paste version of, you know, a grumpy male main character. So I think that's my problem. Like, I knew where this book was going right from the start. I feel like I should have known that by picking this up. And I think I did know that from other reviews. I just have so much FOMO, and because this was doing the rounds on TikTok, I wanted to know what it was all about, and it had such good reviews. And then I realised, well, the reason why it's got such good reviews is because those people love spice, and rightly so, they're allowed to. But yeah, I should have known in advance this wasn't going to be for me. But I did rate it 3 stars, so it's not like it's terrible. Like, I can appreciate it, but I think it's just not my vibe. And the spice level is not my vibe. So yeah, you know, while this may not be for me, I would recommend this to people that love a fluffy romance, love spice in their life, and yeah, I think you'll absolutely have a great time with this. Oh, but to know, and this is a big no, I actually listened to this on audio about halfway through, which ironically is when the spice started to happen, so I had to have my headphones in all the time, because otherwise people are going to be like, what the hell? But there is so many mistakes in this book. This is Evermore, who is actually a part of Penguin Publishing. The amount of mistakes in this book, I'm actually surprised they let this on the shelf. And I'm not being dramatic. In my line of work, I'm writing a lot of emails and whatnot, and I do like to pride myself on, you know, punctuation and just having no mistakes in my work and etc. This, I would not let on the shelf. If I flicked through this book as like a proof to read, I would be like, no, that can't go on the shelf. And I don't just mean an odd one here, an odd one there. It was pretty much throughout every chapter. Now, I did stop reading this the second half of the book because it took me out completely. I don't like to read a book with mistakes, and I can't gloss over them. It's just my personality. I cannot gloss over mistakes in books. And actually, if you're like me, don't pick this book up. If you feel like this is a bit of you, get it on audio or Spotify or something, because I mean, this is in the UK and I got this from the work, so maybe it was just a bad batch, I don't know, but my god, this needed another round of editing. And I'm just so surprised, because someone like Evermore, who is part of Penguin, I didn't think there would be this many mistakes. I get it, we're all human, and the odd mistake here and there, it could happen. But I feel like someone's not actually done a proofread of this. I feel like there isn't an editor for this book. It's just been put on the shelves. And that really surprises me. So yeah, just another food for thought. And, you know, another reason why I did actually dock it down, because it just took me out of the story completely. And I know I'm being a bit over the top on this, but I can't help who I am. But because of all those reasons, I do actually think that will be getting unhauled from my shelf pretty soon. So yeah, I'll have to take that to the charity shop, or even my cousin. My cousin might like it, actually. So yeah, not one for me. While it wasn't bad, it just wasn't my cup of tea. And that's absolutely fine. So the next book I read was then Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. I might actually put an overlay of this just because it's so tiny you might not see it, so I'll put a little overlay on the screen. But I rated this one 4 stars. This was actually my first ever Jane Austen, and honestly, I was really surprised. Now, I guess the synopsis, this is, I'm going to say, like a coming of age story, which again, my favourite book is The Great Alone, which is a coming of age story. So clearly I love coming of age. So if you have any recs for coming of age stories, please let me know, because I eat them up. Where the Crawdad Sing as well was a 5-star read for me. Coming of age story. Like, I love coming of age stories. Sorry, tangent. But we have got Catherine, and her neighbours is going to Bath, and they're like, Catherine, come along with us, come to Bath, you'll have a ball. So she goes to Bath and she meets all these other kind of aristocrats, I want to say, and, you know, other people, and she befriends a girl called Isabel. Now, her and Isabel, they go to the kind of like, I don't want to say functions, but it's called the Pump Room, and this was an actual place in Bath, which the historical girly in me just loves anything to do with like Britain in 1800s, 1700s. So I was kind of eating this up for that reason as well. But they usually go to this thing called the pump room, and it was kind of like where people go to like mingle and, you know, just meet people, maybe have a little bit of a dance here and there, kind of like a function room, but there wasn't actually a function going on. Actually, I don't feel like I need to say too much, but we are going through Catherine's journey of making friendships, potential relationships, knowing who to trust, you know, just general coming of age story. But I felt genuinely like, I thought this was going to be a really hard read because obviously it's Jane Austen. It was written in 1800s, 1700s, I think 1800s. Actually, I think it was written in the 1700s and it got published in the 1800s. But it was a really easy read. Now, I know they changed the language, so it's a bit more bearable for English right now as opposed to English back then, how, you know, they would have spoken and whatnot. But it was just a really easy read. I loved Catherine. Like, I just felt with Catherine, like any coming of age story, you want to mother them, don't you? Like, you just want to tell them through the page, like, don't trust this one's sketchy, blah, blah, blah. He's a nice boy, he's not so nice. And I had the same feeling. And it always baffles me that something that is written as old as like 200 years ago can still have that effect on you. And that's the power of books and writing and storytelling. Now, Catherine herself, she was such a great character. I found her like so empathetic. She was very happy-go-lucky. And I feel like for those times, I feel like people would be able to manipulate you quite a lot. And again, it just made me really feel for Catherine and connect with her. Because this is set in Bath, I've actually been to Bath. It's such a beautiful little city. I really want to go back again. And the reason why I want to go back again is because of this book. Now, I know this was set 1800s. I really should just find out when it was actually set, but long time in the past. But honestly, the depiction of Bath, I loved it. And the pump room, like, I know I mentioned about the pump room before. I want to go to the pump room. I actually Googled, I was like, what the hell was the pump room? Because they were talking about it so much. And apparently it's actually still there to this day. I think it's a restaurant, but it's not gone. So I want to go back to Bath and I want to go to the pump room and I want to live like Catherine, you know? I want to live in like Victorian times. But it really gives you a vivid setting. So I love how Jane Austen created that imagery within her writing of what Bath would be like at that time. And actually, I feel like at the time, a lot of people might not have even been to Bath. It would have been so much less accessible to just get up and go to another city, you know? So I feel like that would have been great for that time. I am going on about this as if it was like the best thing since sliced bread, and it was such an amazing book. But there were times when I felt like I wasn't fully involved. There were parts where I don't want to say boring because that sounds really mean, but I feel like I was a little bit away with the fairies, you know? I was reading it, but maybe I wasn't taking it in because it didn't fully grasp me. I don't know. I feel like sometimes that's when the action, I'm saying action like it's a thriller novel, but you know, like when not much was happening and maybe we're just having conversations and, you know, I was a bit like, oh, okay, let's speed it up. But overall, like I say, it was a 4-star read. I did really enjoy it. And actually, I feel like it was a perfect first Jane Austen novel for me. And maybe that's because I love coming of age. But a lot of people said, oh, Northanger Abbey, it's not very great. Like, it's not Jane Austen's best work. If that's not just Jane Austen's best work, I'm so excited to read Emma and Pride and Prejudice and all her other works because, yeah, I was completely sold. Also, I loved the little romance that was happening in this book. It made me giddy. Like, I'm sorry, no man today. Like, just little things. And then, do you know what? It wasn't even grand. Like, I just think I'm one of those hopeless romantics for like old school romance. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes I just feel like I know it wouldn't have been like that at the time, and actually it would have been really like constricting and it wouldn't have been nice to be living in Victorian times. But sometimes the way it's portrayed, I like that old school romance. Does anyone understand what I'm saying? Because sometimes I feel like only I know what's going on in my head and I can't actually portray it in words. So the final book that I actually finished in July was Laura Clark is Away from Her Desk by Helen Russell. And I gave this one 3.75 stars. And I want to say thank you to NetGalley and Wildfire Publishing for sending me an e-arc of this. So instantly from the title, as a corporate girly myself, I had to request this. I also read I Hope This Finds You Well by Natalie Sue last year. That was a 4.5 stars, all about the corporate lifestyle. I really loved it. I thought this could hit the same. And while I did enjoy it, didn't quite live up to I Hope This Finds You Well peak, shall we say. So for this one, we've got Laura Clark, and basically she holds everything and everyone up. Everyone relies on her, including her mother, her husband, her daughter, even her office workers. Everyone relies on Laura Clark until one day she goes missing. No one knows where she is. No one can get in touch with her. No one can phone her. And everyone's just a bit like, where is Laura? Slowly but surely, you see everyone around her, their lives crumbling and falling apart. And this goes from, say, her office workers who don't want to do actually any work and normally palm it to Laura, so things don't get fixed or action. From her husband who just relies on her to make food and like the dinner. Obviously that doesn't happen now, so he has to get takeaway every day. And just little things that affects their lives throughout Laura's disappearance. And I think that's all I need to say. So straight off the bat, I like this one, but I don't think this is going to be for everyone. I'm going to just put that out there because practically every single person in this book is unlikable. I love that. I love reading about unlikable characters. I know a lot of people don't like reading about unlikable characters, but that is all there is in this book, you know, because essentially we're dealing with how Laura feels as being everyone's kind of column, you know, everyone's spine. And it's showing how actually maybe people don't appreciate what Laura does, and therefore they might not have a nice personality. So we're slowly seeing that. We do see some redemption arcs, but actually some redemption arcs shouldn't have even been given. And that did annoy me a little bit because I'm just thinking, why are you giving them that little bit of a, you know, where you kind of think, oh, maybe they are a nice person. No, you're not a nice person and you don't deserve the redemption arc. Another thing is, while I get there is certain stereotypes with corporate jobs, believe me, I'm in them, I understand them. These were ramped up to like 100%. Like they were really ramped up. And I just think nobody in their right mind would act like that. Like I guess there are people that would act like that, but nobody would let that happen. And maybe this says more about me, but I am like, I would just turn around and be like, no, you can't say that. Or like, I don't know, there was no conflict. And I'm not saying that I'm a conflict person, but if someone's doing something wrong or saying horrible things to someone, there's got to come to a point where you stick up for them. And I would like to pride myself on that. I would stick up for people, you know. But in this case, it was like, well, this one certain person would just say really inappropriate stuff all the time, and everyone would just gloss over it. And I'm just like, really? Like, really? Like, some people need to be put in their place just because you're not allowed to speak to people like crap. And I'm sorry if that's controversial. While that did actually make me laugh, because I can see some similarities between people, it just felt so over the top. And actually, sometimes I think by going like over the top, you're doing less. Like sometimes less is more and you can really understand it. But then I guess if you don't work in that corporate lifestyle, then you're not going to understand the little subtleties in what like different personalities are like. I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking this, but because they were kind of like a caricature of office workers, it did make for a very fun, very witty read. And, you know, I mean, not even just the office workers, a lot of the characters as a whole, like it was quite funny, it was witty. I did actually laugh out loud on multiple points. It wasn't just like a little snigger. So I have to commend Helen Russell's writing for that, because as well, I don't know if I'm just grumpy, but I feel like I don't laugh at books. Like laughing at books is quite a big achievement for me. And yeah, I don't actually laugh at books. I like books that make you cry, you know, and like really make you think. And so maybe that's why, but if a book makes me laugh, I have to give it points. Helen's writing I found was really easy to follow. Like we did actually have quite a few characters in this book, but not once was I confused. I wasn't thinking, who's this, who's that? And actually it was quite captivating in parts. And I'm going to say that because if you don't like character-based books and are predominantly plot-driven, this is not going to be for you. I can't really say there was much happening plot-wise. We are delving into people's characters. We are seeing how they are evolving, or not, but we are seeing how they deal with situations without, you know, their without Laura being there, and yet not much happens plot-wise at all. So if you need something happening with the plot 24/7, you just like it bam, 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 I just would not even consider picking this up. It's not going to be for you. And because of that, I would say you do need to enjoy literary fiction. If you don't enjoy literary fiction or general fiction as a whole, I don't think this one is going to be for you. But it ticked all of my right boxes. I really loved it. The ending, I don't know. I mean, I was thinking throughout the book, what is the ending going to be? Because I could only see one ending. And I don't know if I was wholly satisfied with the ending. I mean, I was, but I wasn't. I think I wanted something a bit more pizzazz. I don't know. And I got the ending that I thought we were going to get. And while that was kind of the only applicable route, I really wanted to be surprised and wowed. But overall, I really did enjoy it. It was a fun book to read, easy to read as well. Quite honestly, I think I'll definitely be looking out for more of Helen Russell's books in the future. And even though that is an e-arc, that is actually currently out now. It was released on 30th of July. And also previously I mentioned about She Had Enough, which was an e-arc, but that is also out now. I think that was released on the 21st of July. So if you wanted to pick that up, you absolutely can. Now, I do want to include this into July's wrap up, but I am currently reading it at the moment, and that is The Atlas 6 by Olivie Blake. I've actually read so much today. I've been listening to it on audio. I've read before I got up, had a coffee in bed, and I just read some of my book. I'm going to finish this up this weekend, and then I'm going to come back. Obviously, I'm going to be in different outfit, different clothes, and tell you my final thoughts. Sorry for the jump scare. I've just come back from a very long day in the office, but I have finished The Atlas 6 by Olivie Blake, and I'm going to give this one 4 stars. I'm actually quite surprised because this was doing the rounds on, I want to say, TikTok a couple of years ago, but it does have very mixed reviews. Some people absolutely love this, and some people are like, what the hell have I just read? But I'm actually pleased to say I did actually enjoy this. Was it perfect? No. But it was still a real enjoyable read. The synopsis, very briefly. So, we are in a world where magic exists, and there is this Alexandrian society where only the best students or magicians can attend. So, every season there is 6 students, best of their game, but only 5 places are offered at the end of the season. And I guess that's all you actually really need to know. This is obviously a fantasy, a dark academia, and I do think if you like those types of tropes, then I feel like you might eat this one up. Each of the students have their own different quirks. So we've got 2 students that can actually change the form of objects and matter. We've got an empath, we've got a telepath, and one of them can control nature, and I forget what the other one is, but they've each got different unique abilities, shall we say. So that actually made it quite an interesting read, because constantly you're not reading about the same kind of magic going on. That being said, I do feel like the more interesting individuals, we didn't really delve deep enough into their story. Like, for example, if you've read this book, I wanted to learn more about Raina, and she's not really in this book. Obviously she is, but I want to know her backstory. I also felt like her magical abilities would be really interesting to read about, but unfortunately we were mainly focusing on the same people, and I guess that has to do with the storyline, and perhaps, I think this is a trilogy, and perhaps the more interesting individuals will be in books 2 or 3. I hope so. The plot itself I actually found was very captivating. Like, the beginning of this book completely hooked me in. It really set the book up because we were learning about each individual and what their magic is, and you could see how it could potentially be a blessing and potentially be a curse. So I really enjoyed that first segment. I think it set the book off amazingly. Even though I did really enjoy this book, I have to say I think this book could be at least 100 pages shorter. I would even stretch that to 150 pages. It wasn't that I was bored as such, but I do think there's a lot of filler in this book, and on some avenues I just felt like it wasn't needed, but we went there anyway. So I do feel like this could be really condensed, and actually I feel like that would boost the rating up for a lot of people, because the contents of the book inside, it can be quite confusing. Like, we're going on about, wormholes and traversing time, astral planes, and all things like this. So I do think if we condensed it a little bit more, it might be a little bit more understandable. not that I didn't understand it, but I don't know, it was a bit wordy when perhaps it could have been a lot shorter. That being said, I did think I understood what happened, like the ending. I did actually quite enjoy the ending, and in my head, I thought I knew what had happened, but I did want clarification. So I did go on Google afterwards and just say, you know, the Atlas 6 ending explained, or, you know, just the plot points and what I thought was correct. But it is a book that kind of makes you think, is what I'm interpreting correct? And it was. And do you know what? I really enjoyed the actual plot itself. Like, I did. I'm actually really surprised. Am I going to run out and get books 2 and 3? No, I do feel like I'm quite happy to have a break from this series, and I'm definitely not running to grab it, but I do want to carry it on. Now, I did read this in physical. I actually read this on Kindle, and I read this via audiobook. Like, I read it any way I could, actually, this book, but I have to say, I really enjoyed the audio. I did listen to it on Spotify. I actually have 30 hours. I've got a promotion where you can get, like, I think 15 hours free, so I was like, yes, please. So I read it on Spotify, and I have to say I was quite impressed. We've actually got different actors for each individual. Some of the voices were better than others, but I feel like, you know, you're really hit and miss with audiobooks anyway, especially maybe on Spotify. You don't get the best actors, but I actually really appreciated that it was a multicast of people and not just the same person doing every single voice, and it really did differentiate whose point of view we were in. So I found that really fun. But I think overall I would actually recommend this. I do think if you don't like fantasy, if you don't like dark academia, there's no point picking this up, because it is, you know, it's very heavy on those themes, but I really enjoyed it, and therefore, yeah, it's a good solid 4 stars. Yeah, last book of July, and thankfully it brought the rating up a little bit, I think. Anyway, back to past Jess. Although this is in the past too, so this whole video is in the past, so it don't make sense, but you know what I mean. And that is a wrap on all the books that I've read in July. I would love to know, have you read any of these books? Are they on your radar? I would love to know all the tea. I feel like I've just had a very middle of the road July. Other than Glow of the Everflame, we haven't really had anything that's been like super spectacular, and I'm hoping August can change that. I mean, we've got some great books for August, so fingers crossed we can. I'm not hopeful there'll be a 5-star. I mean, Babel could be a 5-star read for me in August. But yeah, I've only had 2 5-stars this year. 2 or 3? Atmosphere and the Lamb. I think I've only had 2 5-star reads this year, and I'm aching for a 3rd. So if you did like this video, it would mean so much to me if you could like and subscribe. I would absolutely love to have you here. I would love to know, what did you read for July, and what was your best read for that month? And I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye.